Hi everyone, welcome back. Now we'll be covering the manifest, and the manifest controls the configuration for the extension. It declares permissions, it tells the Chrome browser specific Chrome APIs we intend to use, and it also tells the browser, like it gives the browser metadata about our extension, like the name, the version, the description, the extension icon, and also some other configurations for side panel and the UI. So in the next video, we'll just go through some coding practice and I will show you how to configure the manifest.
All right, let's get started. So in this coding section, I'm going to be taking you through the different aspects of how you configure different components through the manifest.js. But the first thing I would like to highlight is the manifest.json. So this is an example of what the manifest.json looks like. So I'm increasing the font so it's clearer. Now, one of the things you'll notice is the manifest version. This is very important because as of now, manifest version 3 is the latest, but prior to this, we used to use version 2, but however, there isn't much reason to understand the difference between 2 or 3 other than there are new changes in the API. So going forward, you should always use 3, as Google is currently sunsetting MV2 extensions. So this manifest is also known as MV3, or you can call it manifest.json, but I use MV3 to let people know the latest specification. And now in this specification, you have the name. This is the name of the extension. It depends on how you handle versioning, 1.0, it's all up to you. And the description. So this description kind of informs the user a quick note on what the extension is about. And this icon sets the icon for the extension. So that's what's displayed on the browser panel at the top. And if you notice, it's pointing to this part here, this icon. So if we continue with the manifest, you'll see that there is the content script. Now, the content script, these are code that will be injected into the host page. However, there are some additional concepts to this, but I will cover that in the content script video. But for now, this is how you specify a content script in the manifest. You specify the matches. Now, this matches simply states that I want this content script to only execute when it matches developer.chrome.com. Now, if I wanted it to match every URL, I'd simply just do this, all URLs. But the intent is to only run it on Chrome. So I'm going to leave it here on Chrome. Now, this specifies what JavaScript to inject, and it also specifies what CSS to inject. So we're currently just going to install the extension, and so for you to install the extension, you would most likely not be in developer mode. So once you toggle developer mode, you will see load unpacked. Now I'm going to remove this extension because I had it loaded before, and I'll simply just reload it. And you have it here, a basic example. Now we'll go ahead with the content script. So I want to write my first code. So all I'll simply write is console.log content script has been injected to the host page. Now for this here, I'm simply just going to say body background black, or let me say red. Now I'm simply just going to save this. So now what this would do is it will inject each of these scripts into this page. So I want you to take a look at this. So I will click on this to refresh, and the moment I refresh the page, you will see content script has been injected into the page. Now for the CSS, I need to target, so let's target the main. So I go to CSS and I type main and I say background red important. So I'm simply just going to refresh the extension. Every time I make a change, I simply need to refresh this, and you see it has injected the CSS into the page and it will override. So this is how you create extensions that modify an existing website. Now for that is how you specify content scripts. Now there's also what you call the background worker. I'm not necessarily going to go deep into the background worker, but I'm just going to go into the manifest in how you can configure different aspects of your extension. So, and there is also the documentation here. So let's go back here. If you go to the documentation, what you'll notice is that there is a, sorry, let's go back further. What you notice that you will see all the keys that exist here and their explanation. Now obviously I'm not going to go into each of every one of the keys, but I'm just going to explain to you how you can come here for reference purposes. So in case there are things you want to do, you simply just go here and read the feature that you want. Now for me, I'm simply just going to read permissions. So once I take a look at the permissions, and I would simply just click here and go permissions. Luckily ChatGPT is here too. So now I'm going to, so for permissions here I have storage, I have active tab. Now in this gives me access to this specific permissions, and you can look at those specific permissions in depthly, but for now I'm not going to go deep into this. I'm just going to show you how it's being configured. So for also, you can also configure side panel, as you can see here, the HTML for side panel and the pop-up. So let's try and look this. So this is the pop-up, as you can see. Oops, sorry. So this is the pop-up, but if you notice there isn't any thing happening because we haven't declared the UI. So let's go around and do that. So we look for action. Now the pop-up is under the settings called action. So let's simply go to action. So if you look at action here, you will see the configuration for action, and you can see pop-up dot title, and so we're going to take this here. Now what we're going to do is to come here and oops, sorry, action. So we're going to have a simple HTML file. I'm just going to call it popup.html. Sorry, I don't have emmet. So just going to give it a body. Now inside this body, maybe I should just give this h1 and just say, sorry, h1 and say my pop-up goes here. Now this is very basic code. We will not go into anything in depth, as we only go into the complex aspect as we move on. So we're going to default here pop-up, then there is the default underscore title. So we're going to call this maybe click me or whatever it's called. So now the moment you go to your extension and you refresh this, now if you click on it, you see my pop-up goes here. So people tend to put the UI in this component here. So this is where you can have the UI for your extension. Now we can go ahead and even try, sorry, we can go ahead and try with the side panel. So if we look at, so let's look at the configuration for side panel. Let's assume that I'm a first timer and I have no idea how to go around specifying the side panel. So if you go here, you will see the side panel here. So once you click on this, now in order to use every API, there's a section here called permissions. So this means that for you to use this side panel, this is the specific permission you need to enable. So I'm going to click here and come here, go to my permissions and add it here. So I'm telling Chrome that I want to have access to the side panel. So once I do that, you can see this is the schema for using the side panel. So side panel default path. So let's create another file and let's call this the side panel. Now all simply we're just going to do is come here and say side underscore panel. I don't think that schema is correct. Default path. So you can see Copilot is never always correct. Default path. So we're going to give this side panel.html, but without the space and without this. So let's copy what we have here and paste this here and say side panel content goes here. Now we'll save our manifest file and we'll simply go back here and refresh. Now by the time you click on this, you will see pop-up works. Now in order to know if you have access to the side panel, you right click on this and you see open side panel, and when you click on open side panel, you can see side panel content goes here, and that's pretty straightforward. So whatever you're doing, it's still web technology, so you can see how you can use web technologies to define the interface for your Chrome extensions. And I'm going to round up this. I'm going to round up manifest because this is pretty much all you will do in manifest. All you will simply do is specify different components, and you specify different permissions, and you change information like your Chrome extension icon or whatsoever. And I would say one of the best place to go is here, so you can make reference to a lot of manifest configuration. There are some things that I'm not even familiar about, but this is a good part. This is a good page to keep as reference. You don't need to cram everything. I would say this is, you most likely be using this for most Chrome extensions, unless you enter some niche scenarios or some rare scenarios where you need to do something special. And if you need to do that, you can simply just consult the documentation. So it's not something you need to cram. That's one of the beauty of Chrome extension. There's documentation for it, so you can easily reference and learn what you need to learn on demand. And that's it. In the next video, we'll be looking at content scripts. But if you have any questions, please feel free to drop some comments or share your opinions. Take care, everyone.